God says, I've given you all authority to pray. I've given you all authority to go. That's what the word decrees in Matthew 10. He says, you are to go, lay hands on the sick, they will recover, raise the dead. The Lord is calling you to arise and to shine, for the light has come. For His glory is not only around you, but it is in you. God wants you to know you have destiny. This is our finest hour that we are entering into. Jesus came so that we would have the fullness of who He is. We take the deliverance and the power and the authority of Jesus Christ in and bring the light in. Hi, I'm Angela Greenick. I want to welcome you to my program today, The Awakening. I'm so excited to be back in Madisonville, Kentucky with Rush Hunt. And Rush, you recently wrote a book, and what is it called?
Well, it's called Lunch with Grandaddy.
Barbie sent me the picture. First of all, congratulations. Well, I was so excited that you wrote a book, and I want to take a minute and show everyone, but it says, and here you are with your grandson. And so, what is it that compelled you to write this book?
Well, this is my oldest grandson. I have 6 grandchildren.
Wow.
He's 20 years old now.
Yeah.
About 4 years ago, I was basically in prayer.
Yeah.
And talking to the Lord and saying that at my age, I wanted to know that the next 10 years of my life really made a difference.
Yes.
And as I was praying, the Lord gave a clear impression to me that I was to pour my life into my grandchildren. They would make the difference.
Wow.
So I began meeting with my oldest grandson. We began talking about faith issues and we might talk about sports, we might talk about a lot of things, but over the course of what became 3 or 4 years, I was able to kind of impart different ideas of life to him and show how faith plays into those issues.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would, in the evenings after seeing him, I would sit on my iPad and type up some of my thoughts, and I did that over about 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And I don't know that I had ever had a thought of writing a book. I just was expressing myself in writing.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months ago, when I showed it to Barbie, I'd never shown her what I had been writing.
Oh.
And she saw it. She said, "No, we have to make this a book."
Yeah. She was right.
Yeah, she felt not only our grandkids, but what I had to say would make a difference in lots of children's lives.
Absolutely. For parents or grandparents.
Yeah, hopefully it can be kind of a sounding board for parents or grandparents to talk to their own kids or grandkids and share some of these ideas.
Well, let me ask you this. Had you felt like maybe something was missing and it was important for you to have lunch with your grandson? Yeah. I mean, what was that about?
Well, I felt that he was in his teenage years.
Yep.
And like most of us in our teenage years, we make a lot of good decisions, a lot of poor decisions. Yeah. And he'd done a few things that I just thought he needed a man in his life that could speak life into him. Yeah. And obviously parents can do that, but as a grandparent you kind of have a unique role. You're not quite the same authority figure, but there's a special bond with grandparents, and he allowed me to say things into his life and just breathe life into him, and we talked about lots of different life issues, and I tried to show him how, particularly as a young man, living a godly lifestyle was practical, real, and made a difference.
Oh yeah.
So occasionally in my writings I would bring scriptures in because they would underscore the points I was trying to make.
Yeah. So when you first started out, did Ben want to hear what you had to say? Or, you know what I mean? Because, when you're dealing with teenagers, I mean, let's get real here, Did he want to hear or?
Well, I don't know. He was polite, so I always had to talk,
There you go. Okay.
A lot of times we just talked about just guy stuff, and we didn't get into anything heavy.
No.
But other times he would let me, speak into him, and I never knew until I wrote the book how meaningful our talks were to him, because he helped edit the book. He was working with me, and I gave the first manuscript to him, and he kind of helped first get it in a little bit of book form. Yeah. So he would have gone back and reread the things I said, and then he wrote a dedication in the book that really blessed me, because I realized the depths of his own feelings, not only about life issues, but also about me and the time I'd spent with him. So it was a real tearjerker to read what he said. So
can I have this for a second? I love this because even when
like in chapter 2, it says forgiveness is an amazing weapon. And so I just, knowing you for, 8-9 years now, I just know that your heart is always to see people, succeed. But I love that you're leaving a living legacy to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren down the road, and that you were able to take that time. Because, so many people are so busy. Yes. And like you have your own law office.
Right.
And you run the healing rooms plus 1,000 other things. But there was something in your spirit that you knew. Like, because you wanted to spend time with your grandson.
Well, I did. I'd be the oldest one, and he has 2 younger brothers. I also thought, well, if I pour my life into him, then he can take that and pour that into them also. Once you get to be a grandparent, you don't know how many days you have left on the planet,
It's really true, though,
you don't like to think about that, but there's a big age difference in my oldest and my youngest grandkids, and so I just wanted to really pour into my oldest and then let him pour into the next younger ones in the family. But hopefully I'll have a lot of years to speak those life into my other grandkids too.
Well, when I look at the front cover of the book, all I just see is, I see Ben, he's just an amazing young man. But that's a real smile. Like, you guys are happy. Like, you did something together that you never knew you were going to make a book out of. And yet I believe by the Lord, it's going to touch a lot of people. And I think it can help parents also, and the grandparents, to learn how to sit down and listen, because it seems like there are things missing in our culture these days. And one of them is even being able to sit down and have a meal with their kids. Most families, I don't care if you run a church or a mega business or you don't have any money at all, it's not about that part, but it's about taking the time and listening and hearing what they have to say. And you weren't beating God down his throat.
No, not at all. We were just giving life lessons. And when you read the book, I didn't make the chapters long. I kept them very short. Kind of the title is kind of tells you what it's about, and then I'll spend maybe a page or page and a half amplifying it, because I wanted something that one of my grandkids would pick up and would actually read. And if I wrote a 20-page chapter, I figured they would read it. So this way, you kind of catch them with the title, and then they'll read a little bit, and then you can make your point pretty quickly. So that's what I tried to do with the book.
I agree. Sometimes I think, you can go on and on about like the same verse, and you just give it like 20 different ways to look at it. And I'm thinking simplicity is the only way to go in my world. I'm looking at chapter 12, and it goes, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. And I love all the book. I was looking over it last night and this morning, and I love it because, again, it's all about touching the heart. But you know what's so cool is, like, when we started with the media, I thought, for some of the people that have their channels, they're leaving a legacy for their children.
Okay.
Through video.
Yes.
Through their training, through their teaching. You did yours also through the book.
All right.
And of course you guys have a channel. It's just, getting your stuff up there and doing what you need to get done. But you never realize the impact that you have on other people. I'm amazed every day. To be honest, I just get so amazed because you just think, well, it's just me, or you would say, well, it's just me. But to that one person, like your grandson, you made such an impact. And it is important because he's your oldest, when you said he's 20, the number 20 means to, it's redemption, to redeem back. And I feel like that's what you did, is you redeemed back what's yours, which is your family and your legacy, but that you put in that time. And I really believe that it can help, again, parents. And so, are you guys thinking about a second book, or?
Well, I'm not thinking really heavily about it, but my next grandchild he's 15 now. And
I know.
So he was looking at me after the book came out and was kind of, well, when's my turn? And so we started spending Wednesday afternoons together.
There you go.
And we go have ice cream together. So I don't know if the next book will be Ice Cream with Granddaddy or Wednesdays with Granddaddy or what'll come from that. But what I didn't expect was that the grandchildren who do live here in Kentucky, they saw their older brother spend time with me. And as a family, that then became something they wanted to do too, which really blessed my heart because I didn't expect that. I was just kind of a grandfather's heart that was breaking for his oldest grandson. I just wanted to pour some life and really.
The connections is so key, eh?
Yeah, and of course he and I become extraordinarily close.
How could you not? I mean, my gosh. Because, most marriages don't even spend one meal a week together. I mean, let's get real. They don't even have dinner together, And you have to make that time.
Yes.
Like for Larry and I, because he works full time,
Mhm.
I'm full throttle, and then all the stuff that goes in the ministry. But the one thing that we do every morning is we have our coffee out every morning, and we're together,
Yeah.
But every night for dinner. Every night for dinner, we're together. Every night, even if I'm eating or not eating, it's not even about that.
Yes.
It's that we're together.
Well, that's
Because it's
important.
about the communications, everything. Because, everybody goes, you travel all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing about 30 trips, maybe more a year, probably more. And, but then people want you to go for a month at a time, and you're like, well, I'm happily married. I'd like to keep it that way. But there's a lot to it. People don't understand that when you consider the cost of building or writing, or doing the work that you're doing. Like Barbie had shared earlier, that she's, give or take some numbers, but about 3,000 people have been trained to do healing rooms, like to how to pray for healing.
Yes.
What is that like for you? I'd like to hear your side of it, because it's been 7-8 years now y'all been doing this.
Well, it has been. We certainly didn't have any great plans when we started, other than we wanted to pray for the sick.
Just real simple.
And it was that simple. That was what God put the passion in my heart to do. When we met Cal Pierce, it was obvious this was a way that lay people like us could do that.
Yeah.
We began training people just to have a team to help us, and it just grew, Angela. We've been blessed with a lot of people on our prayer teams. At times it's been as many as 50 adults and 10 or 15 children.
Yeah.
And some of those wonderful people that just have a great compassion for people and a desire and a heart to pray for them.
Yeah.
So it's really been gratifying to do that. Of course,
It
it's
is,
shocking
yeah.
that we would have anything to share, but God takes what we give and multiplies it,
Isn't that amazing?
makes it look good,
But the one thing I feel and I see everywhere I go is that I always say it's about important to be in your zip code. But if you're called in Madisonville, Kentucky, that's what you're doing. But you go to other places, but you're imparting back in the wisdom and the revelation and letting people know that you have value in the kingdom. And you don't have to be this, and this. If you get trained,
Yeah.
Well,
we had a word that the Lord gave us to Barbie and I at a very young age in our marriage, and it was basically to pour our lives into our community.
Yeah.
And that was our assignment, and to love our community and work in our jobs and to go about sharing God's love in our community.
Amazing.
And that's not always been an easy call, because
No.
your desire is to go bigger and better places in rural America. And but He's kept us here, and then the amazing thing that we've seen through the healing ministry is that even in our small town, we've been able to be multiplied by Him, and affected people not only locally but statewide and even overseas.
Really worldwide. It's really interesting because when you're about His business, He's about yours.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you have your hands to the wheel, I always think it's a 20/20 vision. And we're driving the car, we're in our lane, and if we just stay in the lane that God's called us, and it's so funny because you don't realize that you reach and impact the world, because to the whole world we are that one person.
Yes.
And I love that your beginning was, it's about stepping in and helping the community, because I think some of that's been lost.
Yes.
We're not seeing it. It's kind of sad that sometimes everybody wants the bigger venues and the jaunters, but they forgot that someone has to start somewhere. And when you're faithful, God says, I will give you more. Like Larry and I, we just stepped into beginning our 3rd year for media, and we just still keep laughing because they said it would never work because it's free to watch and free to be on. And, and as of today, I have Wes, who'll be my 49th television channel. And he's already done his own interview. That's your grandson. That's the second one you're having ice cream. Oh, God, that sounds good on Wednesdays with. And had some of his guys here that were sharing from their hearts. They did an amazing job. And you can just see, his heart is really for people to know Jesus. So he had to have gotten that from somewhere, And, I always believe this, but, action speaks louder than words. Anybody, that 1 Corinthians 13, bing, 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 bing. You're a sounding cymbal. You can say you love, 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 but are you really doing the love? You know what I mean?
Yes,
are you stepping? And so Wes is like, he's so I don't think he's going to sleep for a couple days. He's got, but you know, it's important that they dare to dream at this age, you know. And who knew, you know?
Well, he's a special young man. He's had a calling on his life, as you know, from a young age, and he's staying faithful to it.
Yeah. And then, of course, your other grandson, Joe, I remember the first time I met him, he was banging on the drums, and the Lord really spoke to me. He said, he will be a shepherd to shepherds.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Whew. Just saying, I feel that wind. Because he's really called to be a minister, to pastor other pastors.
Okay.
Like, he's been around, he sees things, but he knows the Holy Spirit. He does know who God is. And I see him being used as a powerful vessel for the kingdom. Because there's a lot of ministers out there. I know y'all know who you are, because I get your prayer requests and from other pastors that you would just be in shock over, that are just they're hurting. People are hurting. You know, they're in ministries. They have churches of thousands, literally, and they're hurting. They're on television. They're doing ministry. And you know what? They're also hurting. And, you know, it's really sad, because hurting people hurt people.
Sure.
But healed people heal people. And even though we're not perfect, God, we just bless that, and we make mistakes, our desire is to walk spiritually after the Father, you know, to live that.
Amen.
I mean, that's really my desire. I know it's your desire, you and Barbie. Our desire is to see the kingdom fulfilled, and that everybody has value in the kingdom.
Well, there's so many good, godly people that are ready to minister to other people. That's what's been great about the healing rooms. We've gotten to see the 40 or 50 people that are part of our team, and then the hundreds beyond that we train. And people want to share God with people. They want to share the love of the Lord with people, and they're good at doing it. They just need to be set free to be who they are. And that's somewhat I try to do in the book, is just speak life into my grandchildren, hopefully lots of others too, just to really walk in the fullness of who God has called them to be. And really walk out their salvation, because that's a great walk. It's an exciting walk.
It is.
There's nothing that's boring about being a Christian if you really step into who Jesus has called you to be.
And to know the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I mean, one of Barbie's greatest things, she goes, we were just Methodists. She's so funny.
Yeah.
We were just Methodists. We're like, you know, it sounds funny when she said it, because you just want, I just want, she says, I want to start laughing, because it's that childlike faith.
Yes.
Well, I always tell people, I'm just a donkey. Jesus rides it on. I'm nobody, you know. But God chose fit to use a nobody to carry his kingdom to the world.
Yes.
And it's amazing at the things that God will allow us to do if we allow him in. And I think the one thing that's critical worldwide is that we have to grab this generation right now.
Yes.
And whether they're in their 20s or 15 or 10 or 5 years old, it doesn't matter. But every generation is critical into the kingdom, and everyone has value. And I know for some of you, you won't believe this, but God is an equal opportunity God. He loves everybody all equal in his eyes. You know, sometimes rush people think, well, if I'm a bishop or an apostle, if I'm this, or I am self-appointed, many of them sadly.
Yes.
There are pastors that should have been really called to be evangelists, but they became a pastor. And they got the wrong appointment, you know, and they're trying to run and roll in areas, and it really just causes more confusion. And the sad part is that one day, you know, I think I keep praying that some pastors will wake up and realize, you know, I really wasn't called to pastor. I really was called maybe to fill a position to help my pastor. But it's always the mechanism of the beast. The enemy's always twisting and lying and pulling the deception, you know. And I think it's important that we stay true to the vision. So I'm excited for this book, Lunch with Grandaddy. You can go right there. You can see the website's been coming across your screen. Go to the screen, get it. I think one of the most precious things that Wes said today was, he goes, yeah, a lot of my friends got Lunch with Grandaddy. They read it. They like it. And so that says a lot for a 15-year-old.
That's right.
To say, oh yeah, they read it, they like it. Wes has always been like this. He did a radio with us, and people were like, there's no way he's real. I go, no, this what you hear is what you get. This child, no way. You know, he is who he is. But you know what, though? That's the one thing I love that you do here. You know, because Larry laughed at times. He goes, you know, I look at us, because he looks at me, my husband, and he goes, "Oh, look at you. You know, you with Russian Barbie, and you guys are like day and night different. Yet you all still operate in the same river."
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other side too. Is about embracing. You know, to be able to embrace different people, and you know, because everyone's different. When I work down in Mexico, it's a different culture. If I'm in Sweden, Pakistan, wherever we're at, there's always that different culture. But it's the culture of influence that we carry, I believe, that just transcends all of that, you know, that we can bypass some of the man's traditional culture and start to operate in God's culture.
That's right.
Because I've been praying about that. I'm like, God, I need to see more of your culture here on earth, Lord, because it's sad, you know, the compromise. I don't know if you see that maybe here, but I sadly see it a lot as I travel, in the compromise and the watering down, and
Oh, yeah.
just it's very hard.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
But you just need to stay true to what Jesus,
Yeah.
what His Word says.
Yeah.
And walk in love.
Yeah.
Transcends all the cultures.
And I know that. That's because people say, "But this is our culture." I go, "But it's not God's."
Yeah.
You can't be fall down drunk and say, "Well, this is our culture here." Just everybody drinks. Well, it's not God's culture. You know, that definitely not that part of it. You know, but it wasn't even about that. But it's just that sometimes we try to grab something and make it sound good, look good.
Yeah.
You know, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it still don't make it. You know, it's still gonna be a pig. It just has lipstick, and you dress it up with a hat, and you know, that kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? You can dress it up, but it's still the bottom line, a pig. And so I believe that God's really calling forth His church right now to rise up and be the bride He's really called us to be. And I always used to pray for years, God, it's boots to the ground. Now it's war boots to the ground, because we are in a battle for truth and justice. We are called to release the righteousness into the house of the Lord. And they're only going to get that by what they say, you know?
Right.
And that God loves everyone equally. And it's not about this ministry or that person or that television or that person. It's just that we all are in the river together, and we really need each other more than we think. I believe that too, you know? Because we're all we have for each other. My gosh, if we don't stick up for each other, who will? There's so much, there's a lot of bullying that goes on. I see it all the time.
I'm sure you do.
It's pretty brutal. I tell people, you don't want to bully me, because I'll be right back at you. You know, they go, "She's very different." I'm like, yeah, because I don't like the bullying, because I find it very, not only intrusive into my own private space, but I was like, Jesus wasn't no bully.
No.
No. Yes, He whooped the devil, but He wasn't no bully. Jesus' main mission really is that he restored back the real culture of what was stolen, and He wants to restore back to us what belongs to us in the fullness, you know, until we get to heaven, you know. And that's going to look different to a lot of you, but again, whatever it is that you're doing, just run into the fullness of what God's called. And Rush, what would people have to do if they want to get a hold of you to come train and stuff? Because, you know, a lot of times people think that maybe you'd have to go to Spokane to have a healing room. I've had people ask me that. I go, no, just call healing room in Madisonville, Kentucky. Call them. They'll tell you what you need to do. They'll train you, help you, train you up right. You've gone
Sure,
to
we've gone different places
well,
to
right?
train, and if someone's interested in starting a healing room, they can contact us. We can either provide the training or put them in touch with people in their part of the country or the world that do the training. So
I think it's vital.
Yeah, it's a growing ministry, and it's just great to see ordinary people stepping into the fullness of who they are in the kingdom, and praying for people and releasing people into freedom and seeing them healed and set free from emotional and spiritual bondage. And folks for so long had just been shut down thinking they couldn't, that they weren't worthy, they didn't have the tools to do it. And so it's really been great to get released ourselves into the fullness of that. As well as to get to train people to do that. And of course, we travel some, and we're happy to do that too. So.
Do you ever wake up some days and go, "Whoa"? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I've wakened several times the last few years and done a whoa, because I'm a lawyer and a pretty straight-laced kind of guy as a lawyer, and so I always have the image of myself being like Clark Kent walking into the phone booth with my lawyer suit on, and I twirl and come out of a faith healer, you know.
Come on! Oh my God, that's awesome! But that's it, right?
But I mean, everybody's can have a job and live life, and they can still release the fullness of the kingdom to the people around them. And that's what we see with our team. that we've gotten to minister with. They're not simply praying for people in the healing rooms. They're praying for people as they're at work, as they're at the shopping mall, wherever they are, because they see somebody who's hurting, and they know that it's their job to go up to them and to begin to release freedom through prayer.
Yeah, and it's. I think that sometimes people think it's so complicated, but it's really not. You know, it's just stepping out of yourself, right?
Exactly.
You know, there's always I hear this all the time, but people go, well, you know, a lot of times, you know, like sickness comes on people because of things they've done. And, you know, my mother died from cancer, but she also smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So you do the math after 40-something years, people go, that's kind of rude. I'm like, not really. Right. It's called, you know, to me, it's common sense. You know, if you don't take care of yourself physically,
that's
like,
right.
You know, like smoking or whatever. And so, I mean, have you come across where people just feel like they've brought things on themselves because of sin, or, you know, like I deserve this? Because I hear that a lot by people. Well, I deserve to be just walking it out. I'm like, no, you don't deserve any of that.
Yeah, that's pretty common. People do that to themselves. I think it's just allow Satan to pull people down and to create condemnation on themselves. So we're often dealing with that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mystery in the kingdom, as you well know, and we just free people that, you know, it's just, God's not punishing you. That's not the nature of God. And some things we don't know on this side of eternity. Yeah. Some of those great questions about why me or why did this happen. But it brings on the righteous and the unrighteous alike.
Yes,
but
it
Jesus
does.
said when he with the ascension was, I'll be with you.
Yeah.
He didn't say it'll always be easy. He said, I'll be with you. And we just try to remind people and bring them into the closeness of their relationship with Him.
Yeah.
And that brings healing many times. If it doesn't bring an immediate healing, it certainly brings a closeness with the Father. And that's worth everything. You know?
Right?
So,
you know, they used to sing
people don't want to be alone. And when they brought back into a relationship with the Father, they're not alone. They can walk through their difficult times when they know He's with them.
Absolutely. There was a song years ago, I was hearing it on the plane. That's how, you know, makes me think I'm really old school. But there's healing at the cross for you. You hear that song? There's healing at the cross for you. You know, there's healing at the cross because of what Christ did. And Rush, would you take a few minutes, whatever's in your heart, and then pray us out today? And thank you for taking the time. I know you came and spent lunch with me today.
There we go.
Lunch with Rush. There you go. It's been a real honor and a privilege. I'm real excited for you and again, the things that you're doing. Because I feel like you're just getting started. That's how I feel too. I'm like, really, God? He's like, we're just getting started. So close us out, please.
So we'll just give blessings on the folks that are viewing. Just ask God's blessings on you. If you got anybody that's watching that is dealing with any emotional issues, any sense of condemnation, any sense of loneliness, just release the fullness of God's presence in you right now. I ask Holy Spirit, just come and release freedom into people. We just bless you and bless this ministry, and we delighted to be here with you. So God's blessings on everyone.
Wow, that's as soon as you started releasing that blessing, I felt this, got this wind all around me right now. Whoa, because there's something. Listen, what you don't honor, you'll never have. What you don't value will just fall through. So you have to value yourself and realize that you are beautifully and wonderfully made. Even the Word says that you are a son and daughter of the Most High God, and you're not a mistake, and that you do have kingdom value. But you have to see within yourself. If you don't start to recognize Christ in you, even if you fall down 50 times a day and go, you know, just trying to quit them cigarette jams and it's out of bondage, but I'm telling you, you get back up every day and you make that decision. I'm telling you, when you decree a thing, it happens. When you release that blessing, you know, I went through all my years of alcohol, drugs, I was a junkie, all these things, but the hardest thing for me was quitting smoking. And I'll never forget that day I threw a pack of cigarettes across the room and I just screamed, when being good isn't good enough, I'm done. And I've never had a cigarette since then because I was so sick and tired trying to do it on my own. And I realized if I had just let go and let God, and I've learned the whole ministry that way since this day, you let go and let God, He will rock your world. So listen, have an amazing week. Don't forget to pray for your pastors. Be an asset, be a blessing to someone today, including yourself. Do something good for you this week, and I'll be seeing you next week. Have a great week.
Jesus came so that we would have the fullness of who He is. We take the deliverance and the power and the authority of Jesus Christ in and bring the light in. Every day I make a choice. We should possess heaven and pull it down and bring it here on earth. If not you, then who? And if not now, God wants to know, then when?